Hi everyone. I just thought I'd post a quick video on the full moon that we have tomorrow at 7 degrees of Pisces. It's a little bit of a strange one, I think, and I hadn't actually planned on posting on it, but I did have a bit of a Piscean full moon experience earlier today, which I thought would be interesting to share, as it really fits with the energy we're feeling with this full moon. I think for some of us, we're feeling like we're perhaps swimming around in circles and not getting anywhere at the moment, or perhaps even swimming in an ocean of tears, personally and collectively. You know, there's a lot of emotion around it at the minute. And I think some of us are feeling a little bit directionless, alone perhaps, or just lost for direction. It's as though we feel a little bit adrift and separated from anything that might be important to us, whether that's loved ones or home or, sort of anything that's important to us on an emotional level. And I'm just thinking of a very relevant example of that at the moment, which the UK holiday makers. So of course we've had that air traffic control crash earlier this week, and we've got so many holiday makers still stranded. And they're just feeling, sort of helpless. They're feeling abandoned. And of course, all they want to do really is get home and to be with their loved ones and where they feel safe, that type of thing. I think this will particularly be felt for anyone who's got a lot of water in their chart, a lot of Neptune or Pisces energy, or even if your water houses, your 4th and your 8th and 12th houses are tenanted, and you may be feeling this particularly so. And I'm just sitting with this full moon chart a little bit, and I think that's what the energy wants us to do in some ways, is just sit with it and let it flow through us. And the chart itself is very much in a seesaw shape. You know, full moons are always about an opposition. The sun is opposite the moon, and the sun in this case is in Virgo. But we do have a very split chart here. We've got the moon sat in one part of the chart with Uranus and Jupiter and Chiron, the North Node, Neptune and Pluto. And then the other half of the chart, we've got all the personal planets. We've got Venus, Sun, Mercury, Mars, and the South Node. So the moon is kind of sat there alone, perhaps lost in the crowd, lost in the collective chaos, the chaotic soup that I think a lot of us are living through at the minute. And there's just a feeling of being in limbo, particularly if you're one of those poor holiday makers from the UK desperate to get home. But in limbo and unsure of your next steps, perhaps, which path to take, which job to do, which problem to solve, what do we tackle next? And it can feel like it's just a bit of a mess. And when there's such a mess and we can't see the wood for the trees, you kind of get to the point where you think, well, is there any point doing anything about this? And we can resort to that futility, or even feeling like a victim. And of course, when our thoughts are scattered in so many different directions, it can be really hard to concentrate and focus on which direction to take, just simply what job to tackle. And because there's so much Pisces energy here, we've got the moon in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, Saturn's in Pisces, there's a temptation just to sit and dream, isn't there? Just to sort of dream and not do anything, to sort of immerse ourselves in any feelings of helplessness. But of course, there's also the potential to immerse ourselves in, anything that's spiritual, anything that's artistic, anything that's meaningful on a soul level. So perhaps this is an opportunity just to forget about the mundane and the sort of practicalities and the everyday necessities in life, and just focus on, you know, what's going through your mind. What are you feeling? You know, what are you dreaming at your minute? Your dreams will be very, very significant around this full moon. So listen to them, and perhaps just sit and dream about where you want to be heading in the future, you know, both the near future and the more distant future. Just sit and dream, because we do have Saturn quite close to the moon here. You know, it's only about 4 degrees away from the moon in this lunation. So there's always that possibility about manifesting our dreams into reality. But first we need to sit with them. But I think one of the reasons as well why we feel like we're perhaps swimming in a lot of circles at the minute, and why we need to perhaps just sit and think a little bit carefully, try to organize our thoughts and try to bring some form of order wherever possible. We've got so many planets retrograde. So we've got Venus now retrograde, Mercury's retrograde, Venus is retrograde, Saturn, Uranus, Chiron, Neptune, Pluto, virtually everything is retrograde. Venus will be going direct on the 4th of September in a few days, which is great. But on that very same day, Jupiter will then go retrograde. So it's kind of like out of the frying pan into the fire, perhaps. But I think this definitely is one of the reasons why you might feel that you're not moving forward as fast as you'd like. Perhaps you're constantly sort of looking over your shoulder, or thinking, you know, there's something I've missed, you know, that there's something more I need to do, there's something else I need to clear up, and I can't move forward until I fix such and such, whatever that may be. And there's also that place, you know, that Neptunian Piscean place that perhaps we long to be, where we don't have to think about anything, where we don't have to worry. It's that temptation to escape from, you know, all those thoughts that are rattling around in our heads. But I think there's also a very nostalgic feeling about this lunation as well. You know, I think during this Venus retrograde, many people have said goodbyes to relationships, whether that's metaphorically or literally, either losing a partner or friend or, you know, loved one. Or just moving on to new relationships, and then that sense of transition, you know, saying goodbye and then moving into something new. And that brings me back to my experience this morning. So I spent many years with horses in my life. I was a professional show jumper, a professional equestrian coach, and horses were part of my life for many years. And I gradually transitioned careers, retired from that, but I still had the odd horse who were in sort of in their retirement, so to speak. And a couple of weeks ago, I said goodbye to my very last horse, who you know, due to old age, and I knew it was coming. Although the decision is never easy. So I said that goodbye, you know, it was 2 to 3 weeks ago now. I'm not sure. Time's gone a bit fuzzy for everyone, I think, with Saturn and Pisces. But this morning I decided to go over to the stables and clear out the stuff that I had. You know, I had some saddles and bridles and, you know, all that sort of stuff, which is a very Virgo thing. You know, I was going to clean out everything after the loss of this long-term partner. You know, that this was a very special mare to me. So I just drove home feeling sort of very emotional, very weepy, knowing that this was the end, you know, the true end of one part of my life. You know, this was my very last horse. I'm never going to have any more. So I was, you know, sort of sad and, you know, in a sense mourning that part of my life, but knowing that, you know, with that, I'm moving on into a new stage of my life. And then I got home, had lots and lots of plans, and then thought, you know what, I just really don't feel like doing much today. I just want to sit with my thoughts, with my memories, and I just want to let this lunation take me where it wants to take me, if that makes sense. So instead of forcing anything over the next few days, just let things come to you, perhaps. There's a lot of water to flow under the bridge yet for many of us, and I think that very much ties into that Saturn in Pisces energy that we're living with. And of course, you know, Saturn is that you know, generic description of a bridge. So yeah, there's a lot of water to flow under the bridge yet, whether that's in relationships or with your finances or, you know, other aspects in your life. But the path will show itself. It will become clear over the next few weeks, especially when Venus and Mercury are direct again. And of course, Mercury will go direct in the middle of September on the 15th. So things might become a little bit clearer then. But just, you know, take this opportunity just to sit with what you want to sit with, what you want to feel. There's no need to rush, and there's no need to force anything, if that's at all possible. Quickly, just from a mundane perspective, because as you know, I love my mundane astrology and I'm always watching the news, although I'm trying to sort of regulate that and keep my level of engagement with the news a bit more healthy, because it can get quite intense. So we have Juno, who is still in Leo, forming an exact inconjunct to the moon in this lunation. The inconjunct, of course, is a 150-degree aspect, and it's quite a tense aspect. It feels quite uncomfortable, and it can feel quite you know, irritable. And if you look at the news, we're seeing so much about women's rights. Juno's always about people's rights, but, you know, we've still got Venus in Leo. It's about feminine rights, that feminine principle. You know, in Afghanistan, there's more coming out. Women are being banned from going to any theme parks, and women are now being banned from traveling outside Afghanistan for education. And of course, we know they're banned from most education in Afghanistan still. Going back to France, in schools, full-length Muslim robes have now been banned in schools. And then, of course, in Spain, you know, we've we had the incredible Women's World Football Cup, and then now look at the absolute drama over the woman being kissed by the president of the Spanish Football Association. You know, so there's lots and lots of drama about women's rights, you know, and I don't say drama flippantly, I really don't, but these are very, very dramatic events. And it's almost as though every time women try to express themselves freely, which is a very Leo energy, we all want to express ourselves and express our identities, they're being scapegoated or sort of made to feel powerless, and in a way that they're victims very much, which is a very Piscean sort of theme. The other interesting and also sort of feminine energy resonating with this is Ceres, who is sesquiquadrat this the moon, and the sesquiquadrat is a 135-degree angle. You know, it's a tense, hard aspect. It's quite dynamic, but it's quite an unconscious energy, and it can very much result in sort of outward physical events or occurrences. So I think any areas where we feel lost or hopeless, Ceres is telling us brighter days will come. We will move from the past, and there will be new dawns ahead. There's new phases in our lives, you know, sort of in the very near future. But it's about thinking how we can negotiate letting go of the past, or letting go of what once was, and then moving forward to what might be, you know, a fruitful future. And it's about actively considering that, thinking about, you know, if we live too much in the past, we lose the future and don't move on. So they were just a few thoughts that I had on this new moon, sorry, full moon. It's very Pisces and we're all getting a bit confused perhaps. But I think the main thing that's jumping out at me is there's still a lot of water to flow under the bridge. And we just need to let that happen before we can move on. So I hope that's been of interest or of some help or resonated on some level perhaps. And hopefully I'll be posting something again very soon. So take care everyone. Bye.